So it's a bit of a tough adjustment in our house, but it's good. I mean, I have two other daughters, so my oldest is very into the baby, but my middle child, not so much.
Yeah. My relationship with my father, which was very complicated and difficult. My dad was a very I come from a middle class, kind of blue collar home, and my dad was just of that generation where it's just like, he was Clint Eastwood, less is more. Simple grunts is how he communicated.
For years, Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively cultivated an image of effortless charm and unwavering partnership. Their social media was a masterclass in playful affection. Their red carpet appearances were always a highlight, and their public statements painted a picture of a couple deeply in sync, both personally and professionally. They were, in the eyes of many, living the Hollywood dream. But behind the carefully curated Instagram posts and witty interviews, reality was far more complex. The first hint of discord emerged not from their personal life, but from a project that should have been a creative triumph, the film adaptation of the beloved novel It Ends With Us. Blake Lively, a passionate reader of the book, was set to star, and Justin Baldoni, known for his sensitive directorial style, was at the helm. On paper, it looked like a perfect match. However, from the outset, a subtle but significant clash of creative visions began to surface. Lively, known for her fashion-forward style and sharp comedic timing, envisioned a modern, perhaps even slightly lighter take on the story. She reportedly leaned towards incorporating high-end fashion and witty dialogue, injecting a contemporary comedic energy. Baldoni, on the other hand, approached the material with a deep reverence for the novel's emotional core and serious themes. He championed a more faithful and earnest adaptation, prioritizing the raw emotional weight of the source material. Initially, these differing viewpoints seemed like the usual creative friction that sparks on any film set. Industry insiders whispered about creative differences, but many assumed they were just typical Hollywood hiccups, easily smoothed over. No one could have predicted that these initial sparks of disagreement would soon ignite into a public inferno, ultimately leading to a courtroom showdown and testing the very foundation of Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively's seemingly unbreakable bond. The illusion of picture-perfect harmony was beginning to crumble, revealing a far more complicated reality underneath.
She said, just read it, because I was looking for movies that could be commercial and speak to the human experience. And
were you reading romance novels?
And I had never read a romance novel.
Never?
And she said, just trust me, read it. So I read it, and by the end of the book, I couldn't even read the text on the page because I was crying so much. My wife was in bed next to me, and she's, I got snot coming out of my nose.
I for sure fell short, and you worked really hard on that, and the way you framed it, and how that made you feel. I just want to say thank you for sharing that with me. That takes a lot of trust and vulnerability, and I feel really grateful that you feel safe enough to tell me that that's how you feel and share that with me. And I'm really sorry. I f***ed up. That is a fail on my part. One thing you should know about me is I will admit and apologize when I fail. I am far from perfect. I'm a very flawed man, as my wife will attest. And and I'm gonna f*** up. I'm gonna say the wrong thing. I'm gonna put my foot in my mouth. I'm gonna piss you off, probably, but I will always apologize.
Those initial whispers of creative differences on the set of It Ends With Us weren't just typical Hollywood chatter. They were the first tremors of an earthquake that would soon erupt into a very public spectacle. As filming progressed, the tension between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni reportedly intensified, moving beyond closed-door disagreements and spilling into the unforgiving glare of the public eye. The first major crack in the facade came when Lively made a decisive and very public move. She launched a formal complaint accusing Baldoni of completely disregarding her creative input. She painted a picture of a director obsessed with superficial laughs and glitz, someone who, in her view, fundamentally misunderstood and undermined the novel's raw emotional depth. Lively asserted that she had repeatedly voiced her concerns, pleaded for a more earnest and faithful tone, but at every turn, Baldoni allegedly ignored her. This public accusation sent shockwaves through Hollywood and ignited a firestorm online. Initially, public opinion overwhelmingly sided with Lively. Fans, accustomed to seeing her as a strong, articulate woman who championed authenticity and representation in her work, were quick to believe her narrative. Her reputation for professional integrity was solid, and her passionate defense of the source material resonated deeply with fans of the book. Social media buzzed with support for Lively, and many saw Baldoni as the stereotypical male director steamrolling a woman's creative vision. Justin Baldoni, equally known for his own brand of heartfelt storytelling and earnest public persona, suddenly found himself on the defensive. Forced to respond to Lively's very public accusations, he initially attempted to take the high road, vaguely referencing creative differences and emphasizing his own commitment to the project, but the pressure mounted and the narrative was quickly solidifying against him. In a dramatic countermove, Baldoni didn't just issue a denial, he escalated the conflict, filing his own lawsuit against Lively. His countersuit accused Lively of defamation, hinting that her version of events was not just a matter of differing artistic opinions, but something far more calculated and potentially untrue. The creative sparks had ignited a wildfire of public accusations, and the battle lines were now firmly drawn, heading straight for the courtroom.
Talks.
I mean, honestly, the way that I get into a character is through their style. So it was more about who Lily is that was so fascinating to me, is that she's a walking, talking contradiction, yet it's perfectly harmonious for her.
Hey, Blake. It is 2 a.m. Hopefully this does not wake you up. Whew. Wow. There's so much I want to say to you, and I hope that we can FaceTime or see each other in person soon and get to talk more. But I'm just going to send you a few thoughts, and hopefully it's not going to be more than a few minutes. But that I don't have the best track record. I don't think either one of us have the best track record for our voice memos. I want to start with an apology. Man, reading the second part of your message, my heart sank, and I'm really sorry.
The day Ryan Reynolds arrived at court, the atmosphere was electric. It was more than just a legal proceeding. It felt like a Hollywood event of seismic proportions. News vans clogged the streets, photographers jostled for position, and the air crackled with anticipation. When Reynolds emerged from a black SUV, his usually jovial demeanor was replaced by a somber, almost grim expression. Even his trademark wit seemed to have vanished. This was a Ryan Reynolds the public rarely saw. Inside the courtroom, an almost palpable hush descended as he took the stand. His presence felt surreal, one of Hollywood's most beloved and charismatic personalities, now a key witness in a high-stakes legal battle pitting husband against wife, co-star against co-star. All eyes were glued to him, the silence punctuated only by the clicks of cameras and the rustle of papers. Under oath, Reynolds began cautiously, emphasizing his limited official role in the It Ends With Us production. He clarified that he was never part of the formal creative team, but then he confirmed the crucial detail. Blake Lively had indeed invited him to participate in preliminary discussions, specifically to weigh in on the film's comedic segments. He recounted how Lively had enthusiastically discussed injecting humor, mentioning specific jokes and playful scenes she envisioned to engage viewers. Reynolds testified that he offered informal advice on comedic timing, even pitching a few ideas of his own. And here's where his testimony took a potentially damaging turn for Lively's case. According to Reynolds' recollection, Lively and Baldoni initially seemed to be in agreement about incorporating comedic elements alongside the film's heavier themes. He stated that at the time he perceived no tension, no sense of Baldoni disregarding Lively's input, no indication that Lively was being steamrolled or ignored. A visible murmur rippled through the courtroom. Reynolds then admitted to being deeply conflicted about testifying, but emphasized his moral obligation to present a candid account of what he had witnessed. He didn't elaborate on the source of this moral conflict, leaving observers to speculate whether it stemmed from the new evidence of potential manipulation or simply a commitment to truth. What was undeniable was his demeanor, calm, serious, devoid of his usual playful banter. He navigated delicate questions with precision, making it clear he respected Lively's creativity, but he could not, in good conscience, dismiss what he had seen and heard behind the scenes. The courtroom air thickened with tension as the reality sank in. Ryan Reynolds was testifying in a way that could directly undermine his wife's entire lawsuit. The showdown was underway.
A lot of it's my real life clothes or my husband's clothes or my girlfriend Gigi's clothes. I was borrowing some.
Wait, that's kind of amazing. So you have something of Gigi's in the movie.
Yeah, it's like a wedding, like something old, something borrowed, something blue, something new.
Wait, which one?
It's
Now I want to think of the scene.
Oh, I'm wearing her stuff all over it.
Oh, really?
Tons of like Bodhi, which is with the suit now that I'm wearing is Bodhi. It was meant for my husband, but I borrowed it.
His suit?
It was meant for him to wear, but it's so pretty. Look at it. You guys are not getting it in the shot.
Talking like this, me into my phone at 2 a.m, but largely via text and voice note. And I will be honest with you, that is not my biggest strength. I love being with people and being in somebody's space and being face to face. And I feel like that's where I excel, and definitely fallen short at times in our text and voice note exchanges, because there's so much to communicate and there's so much happening. And all that to say, I'm just really looking forward to spending time together. And I think that's going to really go a long way for our chemistry, which I believe is there and has been there from the start. So I was so damn excited when you wanted to do this film. I felt it in the room when we met, and yeah, I think it does come from the both of us being hardworking and having a vision and not settling.
Ryan Reynolds' testimony sent an immediate tremor through Hollywood and beyond. The courtroom hallways buzzed with whispered speculation. Had he just destroyed his wife's case? Was this a calculated move, a moment of unexpected honesty, or something far more complicated? The immediate fallout was undeniable. Hollywood gossip machines went into overdrive, dissecting every word of Reynolds' testimony, declaring a marital rift, and analyzing the potential career damage for Blake Lively. For fans who had long admired their seemingly perfect relationship, the shock was palpable. The image of Ryan and Blake as the ultimate power couple, always in each other's corner, was suddenly shattered. Many felt torn, grappling with conflicting loyalties and wondering if they had misjudged the reality of this Hollywood fairy tale. Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni, emerging from the courtroom, expressed a measured sense of vindication. He reiterated that he took no pleasure in the personal drama, but Reynolds' testimony, in his view, confirmed what he had maintained all along. The comedic direction wasn't imposed, but arose from collaborative discussions in which Lively herself was initially a willing participant. But Reynolds' testimony also raised a host of unanswered questions. Had he stumbled upon direct evidence of the alleged tampering? He hadn't explicitly claimed that on the stand, but his vague references to mismatched threads and emails fueled speculation. What was the source of his moral obligation? Was it solely about truth, or were there other pressures at play, perhaps related to his ongoing relationship with Disney, a company now firmly aligned with Baldoni? And what about Blake Lively? Cameras captured her tense posture in court, her averted gaze from Reynolds. Sources close to her whispered of shock and disappointment, a sense of betrayal. If she genuinely believed in her narrative, Reynolds' testimony must have felt like a devastating blow. The legal case itself hung in the balance. Would Reynolds' testimony be the fatal blow to Lively's lawsuit? Or was it just one piece of a much larger, more complex puzzle? Lively's legal team insisted they would present further evidence to contextualize Reynolds' statements and reaffirm her claims. But the damage was done. Regardless of the legal outcome, the public image of Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively, once synonymous with Hollywood perfection, was irrevocably altered. Their future, both personally and professionally, was now shrouded in uncertainty. The fairy tale had morphed into a cautionary tale. A stark reminder of how quickly even the most carefully constructed narratives can unravel under the harsh light of truth, new evidence, and the unpredictable complexities of human relationships. The final chapter of this Hollywood drama, it seemed, was still yet to be written.
Always tease each other. He was, after I gave birth, he was like, oh my gosh, if I lost you and I, went to the park with our 3 kids, think of the ladies I can. He's like, this is a horrible thing to say. And he's like, I've got a long list. And I was like, oh really? Because I just have one on my list. I didn't have anyone on my list.
And it wasn't funny anymore.
No, it's so much more of a burn. He's like, wait, who? And I was like, think of someone.
Right.
Bob Newhart. I don't know.
And I'm excited to have a creative partner in that with you. And it's just really exciting. There's so much more to say. There's so much I want to say. And there's one thing that I do need to say, which is I am so sorry you have been through what you've been through with these other filmmakers and producers or whoever the people were that you worked with. It just pissed me off. Those that, I'm just still kind of blown away that this is the industry that we're in and that you've experienced that as a woman. And I know I don't need to say it, but that's not at all going to be or will be, and hopefully it's not been the experience with me. There's nothing more exciting to me like that I get to work with Blake Lively and have her, all of her. I mean, that's what I want. And so there's been no hesitancy with me sending you the final draft file. I am totally fine with that. The only reason I didn't send it today was because I was trying to implement and add your notes into my working draft, which is already like I'm all over that draft right now. So there's a whole bunch of new stars that are going to be collated pages. And I just haven't had a chance to send it to you.
Imagine Hollywood's golden couple, Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively, adored for their playful banter, seemingly unbreakable bond, and picture-perfect family life. Now picture this, Ryan Reynolds taking the stand not in support of Blake, but against her. It sounds like a movie plot twist, but this unthinkable scenario has become a shocking reality in Hollywood. For years, they were the couple everyone envied, their careers thriving, their love story seemingly ripped from a fairy tale. But behind the dazzling smiles and red carpet appearances, a storm was brewing. A legal battle over a film project, It Ends With Us, has exploded into a full-blown courtroom drama, tearing at the fabric of their seemingly impenetrable marriage. New evidence has emerged, flipping the script on everything we thought we knew. And in a move that has sent shockwaves through the entertainment world, Ryan Reynolds has stepped into the spotlight to testify in a way no one could have predicted. This isn't just a Hollywood spat, it's a high-stakes showdown with careers and reputations on the line, and at the heart of it all, a marriage facing its ultimate test. How did the fairy tale unravel into this explosive courtroom confrontation? That's the story we're about to uncover.
It's a bit of a tough adjustment in our house, but it's good. I mean, I have two other daughters, so my oldest is very into the baby, but my middle child, not so much. But we're thinking of keeping her.
Does she like play with her? What does she think?
Well, she sort of like pretends to play with her. So like in the beginning, our oldest is like loving on her, and she's like very maternal, and then our middle daughter is just keeps away from her.
And find my way back to center. That is one thing I can assure you of. And I'm sorry I made you feel that way. That must have felt terrible. And I will for sure do better. That was not my best weekend, and I should have given it more time. And damn right, you got great friends if that's how you felt and they knew that. And we should all have friends like that, aside from the fact that they're two of the most creative people on the planet. The three of you guys together is unbelievable. Talk about energy and just a force, all three of you. But I just wanted you to know that I didn't need that, because it's really good and it's going to make the movie sing like you said, and I'm excited to go through the whole movie with you. I'm just excited to spend time with you. I'm excited to be in your sphere and your presence, and for us to share creative juices together, although that sounds terrible. I think you and I have been trying to build a relationship, which I think we've done successfully. I mean, here we are.
Amidst the escalating legal drama and the bombshell accusations of evidence tampering, one key figure had remained conspicuously silent: Ryan Reynolds. Throughout the public feud and the increasingly bitter legal exchanges between his wife, Blake Lively, and Justin Baldoni, Reynolds had maintained a carefully crafted public neutrality. While he offered brief, general statements of support for Lively, praising her professionalism and commitment, he notably avoided delving into any specifics of the dispute. This carefully constructed silence, however, began to crackle with unspoken tension. Despite his public show of support, rumors started to bubble beneath the surface, whispers from production insiders suggesting that Reynolds might not be entirely aligned with Lively's version of events. Some speculated that Reynolds, known for his business acumen and collaborative nature, might have privately clashed with Baldoni early in the production process, but then perhaps gained a different perspective, possibly after reviewing more complete information about the creative process. The very idea that Ryan Reynolds, Hollywood's ultimate supportive husband, might break ranks with Blake Lively seemed unthinkable to many. Their carefully curated public image was built on a foundation of unwavering mutual support and playful camaraderie. But as the legal saga hurtled towards its most critical stage, fueled by the explosive allegations of manipulated evidence, speculation reached fever pitch. Could Reynolds, a close confidant and insider to Lively's professional life, be called to testify? And if so, whose side would he ultimately be on? Observers initially struggled to see how Reynolds, not officially involved in the film's production, could offer meaningful testimony. But then stories began to circulate, revealing a previously unknown dimension to his involvement. It emerged that Lively, seeking to bolster her vision for the film's comedic elements, had reportedly invited Reynolds to multiple script discussions and creative planning sessions. Suddenly, his potential testimony took on a whole new significance. If Reynolds had indeed been privy to these behind-the-scenes conversations, his recollection of events could be pivotal, either solidifying Lively's claims or perhaps more dramatically challenging them. The silent witness was poised to potentially break his silence, and Hollywood held its breath, wondering which way he would turn. Just when it seemed the legal battle between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni couldn't get any more contentious, a bombshell exploded, sending shockwaves through the case and casting a dark shadow over Lively's initial claims. As legal experts braced for a protracted and messy dispute based on he-said-she-said accusations, Justin Baldoni's legal team made a stunning declaration. They possessed irrefutable evidence that directly contradicted Blake Lively's narrative. This wasn't just a denial or a counter-accusation, it was a calculated gamble that threatened to unravel Lively's entire case. Baldoni's team claimed to have uncovered inconsistencies within the very documents Lively had presented as proof of her claims. They alleged that certain emails, text message exchanges, and meeting minutes submitted by Lively simply did not align with official production logs and timelines. The implication was clear and devastating. The evidence itself was in question. Baldoni's team went even further, suggesting the unthinkable, that someone, possibly Lively herself or individuals working on her behalf, might have manipulated the data. Fabricating or altering evidence in a legal battle is a move of breathtaking audacity and carries catastrophic risks. If proven true, it could utterly destroy a star's credibility and potentially expose them to serious legal repercussions. This was no longer just about creative differences, it was about the integrity of the evidence presented in court. Lively's legal team immediately went into damage control, dismissing Baldoni's allegations as a desperate and baseless attempt to deflect attention from the real issues. They characterized the alleged data anomalies as minor glitches and insisted that Lively's claims remained valid. But the seed of doubt had been planted. The dispute, already a public spectacle, took a dramatic and potentially irreversible turn. The focus shifted from creative clashes to the far more serious question of evidence tampering. And hanging heavy in the air was the question, what exactly did this new evidence reveal, and could it truly change everything? The answer, it seemed, was about to send shockwaves through Hollywood once again.